Hey guys, welcome back to the shop. Today we're going to be finishing up the Rotax engine. We're going to be installing a few accessories onto it and brackets and things like that. After that, the long block will be done and be ready to put back into the boat. Okay, so first we're going to be installing these exhaust brackets over here. These just hold the tune pipe once we get that back onto the engine. Sometimes once you finish, you got to readjust these a little bit because there is some adjustment built into them for differences in the pipe as it goes into the boat. Okay, so now we're going to install this front exhaust bracket. It installs just like the back one, of course some Loctite. These exhaust bolts get torqued down to 18 foot-pounds. So after the last episode, we found some issues with the engine. Namely, one of the exhaust bolt holes had a bolt broken off in it, so I had to take that to the machine shop and get that removed and rethreaded and all that good stuff. So now we're going to reinstall the exhaust manifold back onto the engine and continue the rebuild. So first up, of course, we need to reinstall these exhaust gaskets, and then of course the exhaust manifold itself. Since we removed all the bolts, of course, we'll have to Loctite everything once again. Of course, when you're installing these bolts, you need to make sure to install the carburetor air intake brackets. They bolt right on right here on the top two bolts. Something to note is some of the bolts have a flat washer, as you can see here, and some of them don't. The ones with the flat washer are the ones that go onto the bracket. Just like last time, there is a torque sequence and a bolt sequence. You can kind of see it here. First, we're going to be torquing them down in the sequence as it shows in this lower sequence here. First to 17 foot-pounds and then to 30 foot-pounds. 1 is this lower one, number 2 is this one, then number 3, number 4, number 5, number 6, number 7, and number 8. After that first round of torque, we'll go ahead and go to 30 foot-pounds. There it is, and then we'll follow the same torque sequence on these bolts also. Alright, our exhaust manifold's installed again. We'll just pop that gasket back into it. And on to the next step. Alright, up next we're going to be installing the engine's rear mounting plate. This is the big mount that holds the engine to the rear. It simply goes right here. And the bolts, of course, need to be Loctite. And then they're torqued down to 17 foot-pounds. So then we'll go ahead and torque these down to 17 foot-pounds. Alright, and the engine mount is installed. Up next we'll go ahead and install the starter, since the plate's now on, to keep it from hitting the ground.
A little bit high on the feeling, can't seem to focus. In the corner of my best friend.
Okay, the starter installation is pretty simple. It just basically goes into this hole down here and then has two.
Just to talk to you.
Alright, up next we're going to be installing the carburetors. It's pretty much the last thing here on the main engine. This step's pretty straightforward. You just need to make sure you got your gaskets in place.
From the minute that I met you.
Alright, so the engine's basically done. I'm not sure how much of the carb install we got on camera because I think the camera might have went dead. The last thing I'm going to do is mock up the expansion chamber here to make sure everything bolts up before we get it into the boat, and it gives me a lot of trouble. Alright, the first thing here is just to leave this nut off. It helps to put the pipe on. It has one that slips on right there. This one can be a little bit hard to get to also.
Outside, trying to get your attention. You make me nervous. In the corner of my bed.
Of course, I'm not using any Loctite right here because we're just mocking it up.
Rum and cola. Wasn't brave enough yet just to talk to you. Not a smooth talker under pressure. Sweaty palms ain't making it much better. Something about you feels so special.
There's one bolt right here that secures the pipe. Alright, looks like the pipe went on with no real issues. Sorry, it's starting to get out of frame. My camera's too close and I can't zoom out anymore. The next part, we'll put the other half of the pipe on to make sure that all fits right. Alright, so the last part of this mock-up is we're going to fit the second half of the expansion chamber to make sure that all fits right. Of course, you got this big ring right here. There's also a sealing ring that goes on the inside right here. It's just a little copper ring. You can kind of see it right there.
I know that we just met the other night.
Alright, remember in one of the earlier episodes I talked about leaving these loose? That's because, like right here, you can see there's a little bit of a gap.
Not a smooth talker under pressure. Sweaty palms ain't making it much better.
So we'll go ahead and get this lined up with this bolt.
So special, pretty up from the minute.
And then go ahead and tighten down this clamp some more.